Good Thursday morning, everybody. In today's episode, I sat down with Isaac Houghton and Mike Sakash, and we talked about reharmonization using Wade in the Water, an African-American folk tune, to draw examples from. Before we get into the episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about their background. Isaac Houghton is primarily a violinist who also happens to play other instruments, including upright bass, piano, bass clarinet, and viola. Isaac grew up in the greater Portland area and has experience busking in the streets of Portland. At FA, he sings in chorus and vocal jazz, plays in the musical pit orchestras, band, and the Valley Strings Ensemble, and is a member of the jazz combo The Kitchen. He also plays violin in the Portland Youth Symphony Orchestra. He has been going to Maine Fiddle Camp over the summer for many years and has also attended summer programs at Berklee College of Music. In addition, Isaac is an avid composer, having written and arranged for string quartet, orchestra, and even the theme music of this podcast. Mike Sakash holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Massachusetts in saxophone performance, African American and jazz studies, and music education, and has a master's degree in jazz studies and contemporary media from the Eastman School of Music. He has studied saxophone with Lynn Clark and Raymond Ricker, improvisation with Yusuf Lateef, and jazz composition and arranging with Fred Sturm. Before settling in New Hampshire, Mr. Sakash was an associate professor of music at Washington and Jefferson College in Pennsylvania. Currently, he's a music teacher and arts department chair at Freiburg Academy, faculty of Mountaintop Music Center, and serves as a guest artist and clinician at music festivals throughout the country. He has performed, recorded, and toured with the Phoenix Jazz Project and the Traverser Saxophone Quartet, and is a regular member of the Portland Jazz Orchestra. Furthermore, Mr. Sakash has much experience booking buses and hotels. And here's a quick little side note. As we were recording, there was a jazz combo rehearsing, so apologies for the background noise, but Harmonic Orange sounds pretty good, so enjoy. All right, hello. Today I'm with Isaac Houghton and Mr. Sakash, and the goal of this episode is to reharmonize a folk tune, an African-American folk tune called Wade in the Water, in the style of a jazz tune. Not quite the form, but we will do jazz harmony. And since I don't feel very knowledgeable on this topic, I brought two experts with me. I'm very unexperienced with this. So what would you say is like the first step in the process of doing this sort of thing?
So this is Mr. Sakash talking. And I want to say that not necessarily, I don't want to be an expert. I'm a student too, but I've just been a student for longer. So if you want to harmonize a melody, and you want to harmonize it in a jazz style. So the first thing is to think about is the kind of chords that usually harmonize a folk song, right? Which are almost all triads, with the exception of like your 5 chords, which could be dominant chords. Or occasionally, if we can go a little deeper in harmony, occasionally the 5 of 4, which is a really common harmonization.
Secondary dominant.
5/7 of 4 is really common. That's something you're going to hear in like a lot of New Orleans tunes like Saints Go Marching In, that kind of thing. Okay, so if we want to like a real easy harmonization, kind of an easy route is to simply on like major chords use the possibility of a major 7 chord or a major 6 chord, right? On your minor chords, you might use a minor 7 chord. Or a minor 9 chord.
Mm-hmm. So like extend the chords.
Yeah,
so
you can extend the chords, and that's a pretty standard and easy thing to do. So that might be a topic to explore. I think the more advanced level of reharm is to look at jazz tunes and understand that jazz tunes oftentimes do not have, or sometimes do not have the primary chord notes as the melody notes, right? So it might be, the melody note might be a 7th or a 9th or a 13th. And if I'm going to reharmonize a melody, sometimes I'll play every possible chord that could go with a given melody note until I find the chord that I like. Right? So if let's say your melody note is a C, right? In a folk song, the chord is probably a C chord or an F chord. But in a jazz tune, that could be an A minor 9 chord. It could be the 6th of an E flat major 7 chord. It could be the 7th of a D7 sharp 9. It could be the flat 13 of an E7 flat 13. There's lots and lots and lots of possibilities, is my point.
Wow. Okay, so Isaac has been doing homework, which I didn't ask him to do, but he's been preparing for this. Can you tell us what you've done?
So I've just written out the melody here and a few of the chords that might be more standard to play on this tune. And it really contains only what you would expect. It's a minor tune. It's got 1, 5, and a flat 6, as is in the key. And a lot of the tune is, completely within these chords. Not even a whole lot of passing tones, which kind of makes it sort of very intertwined with that key. But even with the notes being like exactly in the chords, there's still a lot of chords that can use the same few notes. And like Mr. Sakash said, there's a whole world of possibilities with, okay, how many different chords can I find that like include this note just like somewhere as some extension? There's definitely stuff that will be fun to explore with. Any melody note can work with any bass note, and it's about context and those inner voices as well. That's as important. So there's a whole world of possibility, even in what I would consider for this somewhat of a strict tune.
Isaac, what you said was really great. You said any bass note can work with a given melody note, right? And an exercise that's really fun to do is take your melody note and use every chromatic bass note that you have available to you, and just alter your chords to fit the melody note that you have. And sometimes you stumble upon harmonies you never would have figured would work for a melody note.
Yeah,
which is kind of fun to do.
That's cool. Another thing I haven't done a whole ton, but I know is a common exercise is everybody likes like the kind of descending bass line sort of thing, but making a descending chromatic bass line throughout the tune and finding ways to harmonize like the pairs, the bass and the melody with unexpected things can be really interesting. Yeah.
So we have a piano here. Would you like to play for us what you have so far? Like, do you think you could play like what it might sound like in the original folk tune, and then like play some of the reharmonizations you've written?
Sure.
Okay.
I can give that a try. So this has words and would very often be sung. I'm not going to be singing them. And I'm not going to be doing much of anything crazy. But this is what we have on paper right now.
Wow. So it looks like to me it's mostly 1, 5, and what's E flat?
That would be 6 in the key.
1, 5, and 6.
It's actually it's an E flat chord, so it's a flat 6, which is really a common thing to set up your dominant chord, right? It's a half step above the dominant chord. Yeah. And I know if I were reharmonizing it, that's a feature I'd probably want to keep because it's so cool.
Okay. So like that was in the original version?
Or is that
something you did?
That is I found that in the original version.
Sweet.
I think this may even be like missing a few chords from the original version, and I certainly didn't play it as full as we could, even with what we have here.
Right, but it's a good idea to get the gist of what it originally is like. Okay, so from here, you said we could use melody notes and then put other chords under them that to make the melody note like a 7 or a ninth of the chord.
Yeah, and that's one way you could approach it. I'm gonna have a little tangent if that's okay, and you can just edit this out later if you want. So the material that we're working with is always critical, and as I hear this tune, Wade in the Water, Wade in the Water, it's like such a minor sounding tune.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be likely to change it out of a G minor zone. Mm-hmm. Okay, can I borrow the piano a second? Sure. So we've got, it's so G minor. Okay, so yeah, like what I said before, so that could be, it's a G and it's G minor. So that could be the root of a G minor chord. It could be the root of a G minor 9 chord, right? It could be the flat 9 of an F sharp 7 chord. That's kind of weird. It could be the 9th of the major F major chord, right? It could be the flat 9 of an E7 chord, right? It could be the 3rd of an E minor chord. It could be the 3rd of an E flat major 7. Wade in the water. Maybe that's yet to come later in the song, right? Wade in the water. 13th of a T minor chord. Wade in the water. It could be the it could be sharp 11 of C sharp 7. Wade in the water. C major 7. Wade in the water. C minor 7. Wade in the water. Wade in the water. Wade in the water. It works for all the stuff, right? So, but this feels right to me, like G minor, right? So what I'm probably gonna do is, in the original, I think it's G minor for 2 bars. Wade in the water. So I might think about moving somewhere and using some of those other chords that I just threw out. So maybe wade in the water, maybe, right? Or maybe wade in the water. You know, so like all of a sudden we start using those chromatic chords, and I'm gonna cycle that until I find something that sounds cool. Okay. I kind of like that actually. Wade in the water. Whoa! Or what about wade in the water? Right? So now, like, I found all these possible chords. Now I'm just trial and error. I'm looking for cool relationships until I find something that sounds really good. Second phrase. So that's really D70 sounding, right? That's your 5 chord. So if we just, if we go back to like what I said earlier, like the first level of reharm, if we just add some stuff to that chord, here's a flat 13 and a sharp 9. Even though the third's in the melody, that's got some dissonance. Now here in your harmonization, is this a G minor chord right here? Is that no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's G minor.
So you could go back to G minor, right? Or you could stay on D7 with a sharp 9. So now, oops, because now that fits the extended chord that I just made, right? So that's probably my first place I'd go. Because the melody is repetitive, I might harmonize it differently the second time than the first time.
Yeah.
So first time might be wade. Let's see. Wade in the water. No. Wade in the water. I don't know the next word. Then maybe next time it's wade in the water, right? And then I love this. This flat 6 to 5. That's in 1,000 jazz tunes. Mr. PC, right? The end of Mr. PC. Stormy Monday, like a million tunes, right? So I want to keep that. But I'm gonna make it major 7 because I already use I already used an E flat major 7 chord in the tune, so I'm kind of coming back to that. Wade in the water. And maybe back to my D7. Right? So all I really did was, I took my first theme, I tried every chromatic bass note. When I did that, just right now with you guys, I found like 3 or 4 chords that I liked, and then I started playing around with those until I found a progression that was pleasing to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What were those 3 or 4 chords?
Okay, so we took a G minor chord, right? And I added a 9th to it, just because I like the sound of that, right? And then my next favorite chord was an E flat major 7 chord.
I had seen at one point you played an A flat in the bass.
Yep. And then I also played an A flat major 7 with a sharp 11.
What like number Roman numeral chord would you call that?
We've left that building.
Yeah.
We're really in chromatic land now. Yeah, and the thing that connects these chords, so like Roman numerals are great in common practice, and we still use them in jazz, but the connection of the chords right now is more modal than functional, right?
Oh.
So if I go to E flat major 7 with a sharp 11, it's the same mode.
Oh, okay.
Right? That's not exactly the same mode, but it's only one note different, right? So you can move easily between chords that have similar modes, okay? C minor, C Dorian, there's only one note difference from the mode that we played for G minor.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
The chords that step out of those, some other chords that we identified, that C sharp 7 chord that we kind of like, that's definitely outside the mode that we began with, so that I would use carefully, right? The D7 chord with a sharp 9 and a flat 13, that's pretty far outside of that chord, that mode, but it is the 5 chord.
Yeah.
And in jazz, the 5 chord gives us tons of liberty. There's like, you can rationalize almost any note on a 5 chord in a jazz tune, depending on the scale that you use. Okay? So that would be my process. I would just work at that for days until I found a combination that worked pretty well.
One of the first things that you said that I'm kind of curious to look at again is, so I agree that it's definitely, it's like begging for G minor. Now, I don't think we necessarily would have to start there. Do you think, since that phrase is like pretty closely repeated again, maybe we could start not outside the key exactly, but not like at home base, and then once we get back to that second phrase, and of course like at the ends of phrases when it resolves.
Yeah.
So it kind of, I like when a tune kind of conceals exactly where the key is.
I love that too.
At least for like a bar or something.
Yeah, I love.
Beginning.
There's so many standards that do that. In fact, I was just playing Stardust with Zoe, and that's one of the tunes that starts on the 4. Anyhow, Stardust starts on the 4 major 7, right? And then eventually makes its way to 1. Just Friends starts on 4, I believe, and then it eventually makes it to 1. Lots of tunes do that. So sometimes I'm thinking about that. If I want to start somewhere else, the first place I usually go is 4, because it's an unlikely place to start. So what would that sound like, I wonder? So here's G minor. Wade in the water. What if we started here? Wade in the water. So, you know, or, yeah, wade in the water. So wade in the water. And then, yeah, I'm not sure what the progression would be, but I think it'd be a great idea to start somewhere else in G minor, and then we don't reveal G minor till later.
Yeah. I think like 4 is I think for this specifically, it's especially kind of nice because I don't think anyone hearing it would be tricked into thinking, oh, we're in C minor right now, because it's
Right.
like the melody is starting on the fifth and the seventh.
Right.
But it does have that kind of like, oh, like immediately we're like going somewhere. It's like that sort of traveling four chord.
And maybe it just stays right there, you know. Wade in the water. The second part of the melody is hard. You really have to move there. You know?
In so I'm familiar with a good many of folk tunes, though none in this kind of like bluesy style. But a thing that I haven't tried in major tunes, but I've found to be a very cool, a fun thing to do, is to, once the key is like established, is to have that four chord pedal until there's like a 5-1 at the end of the phrase. So usually for like, if it's like usually an AABB tune, then it'd go either in like a final A or like a whole AA, and then it would kind of have that resolution. Yeah, I can only really see that happening once the key is already solidified, because I think without that, it's just kind of strange, because I don't think like anyone listening wouldn't know where they were. Is this pedal working? Oh, it is. So maybe like one time through.
That's right. Oh, yeah, right. Does it really go to C to the 4 there? Yeah.
It doesn't, I believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think it's hard to make it work when the 5 chord has like the raised leading tone, because when that's already in the when it's already in the key. But for the parts that don't include the 5 chord, it could be interesting. Maybe like after a repeat of the whole tune.
So you call that a 4 pedal?
Yeah.
And so you're thinking of just superimposing the 4 chord for like a longer period of time than it normally would be, right? And that sort of sets up like this predominant feeling, like you're waiting for the cadence to happen. You're waiting. Yeah. Yeah.
No, you'll have the 5 pedal, I think, a lot more commonly. But I think it's almost even more restless with the 4 chord, because I think it's less decided than the 5 chord. Yeah, if we're going for specifically jazz, okay, we already it's a fairly like sparse tune, so I think it's all about like you kind of said this, what chords can I use to get to the chords that are already there?
Yeah.
Because I think
build more motion kind of stuff.
yeah, in a different tune, where like everything is kind of laid out, it's like, okay, to change anything we kind of have to change something, but I think there's a lot we can just add to get to places that we already knew we were going. So like the flat 6 to add in there. 2-5.
You mean the flat 6 before
Yeah.
before there, yeah.
That would be that. I'm not sure. I don't know if I like the sound of the 2-5 there.
The 2-5 to the 5, you mean?
Just the
Oh yeah. Yeah, I had stayed away from that when because I wasn't hearing it. I was hearing kind of more of the modal shifts. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. After trying it, it's less attractive.
It is a good point to make though, and we didn't really talk about this, is that if you're reharmonizing and you're moving towards a jazz style, another common thing to do is where you might just change from like the 1 to the 4 or the 1 to the 5, those changes are preempted with a 2-5 of that key. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So instead of just going to 4, you might do the 2-5 of the 4. That's like, we see that all the time in jazz standard tunes.
Yeah.
But I think both you and I in this tune, I didn't really
Yeah.
hear that as a possibility. You know what I mean?
Maybe to the 6. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think it works.
Well, and I think the reason is too, we're getting pretty deep in harmony, but we're going to a dominant chord, and it just feels. Can I just check something out here? So this is fun. I just want to do this all day. So we're on G minor, right? Wait, instead of saying, so we could say. That's what we're talking about. So like in this tune, we go from the 1 chord for 2 bars, wait in the water, and then we go to the 5 chord, right? And then back to the 1.
Yeah.
You could 2-5 to the 5,
Okay.
but it just doesn't sound right to me. It just doesn't seem to work with the melody.
It sounds too major.
Yeah. This doesn't seem to work.
I see.
Oh, wait a minute. You could almost, it's tough. You can almost, instead of just going to the 5 chord, you could make that a 2-5 also. So that would be a real simple reharm. The only note that doesn't quite work is, that D in the melody there, right? The D's kind of weird on that minor 7 flat 5.
Yeah. That was. I also was like add 4 to the 2
Yeah.
is kind of like, I don't know if that's the sound for this.
So and that's the thing is like the reharmonization. It depends on the material you're working with and what directions you go to. You know, Isaac. One thing that you mentioned when you started talking about pedals, I was thinking about that's also a really common way. You know, if you put chord changes over a pedal, all of a sudden they sound a lot more advanced than they might otherwise be. So if the chord changes are so wait in the water, I gotta learn these words. So
Wade in the water, children, or something like that.
what's that?
Wade in the water, children.
Oh yeah. If we put that all over a 5 pedal, now I'm just playing my G minor 9 with a D in the bass, right? Wade in the water, and then finally we get. So, like you said with the 4 chord before, if you prolong the 1 chord by hearing all that 5 pedal, you know. Wade in the water.
Oh.
And maybe you switch the mode. Sorry. And then maybe second time we finally wade in the water. Right, then maybe we go into harmonic lands. But yeah, lots of stuff. So pedals, finding every chromatic bass note. There's so much you can do.
The pedal thing was crazy.
Crazy. But you can do that with anything. Like you could do that, if you listen to a bass player playing 15 choruses of blues, at some point they're going to get tired of walking a bass line.
Said that in big band.
And they're going to pedal on 5. And it builds all this tension. So now all of a sudden, like on a blues, right, instead of hearing that bass line, right? So all of a sudden there's like that.
Oh my god.
That chorus was like this 5, 5, 5, 5, and it builds a lot of tension. It's kind of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah. Break.
A lot of that went over my head, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. The first stuff you did, I was like, okay, there went all my plans.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's like you just like you know all this stuff.
Here's the thing. Like, I didn't mean for us to come out of here with assault like something written down.
Yeah.
This is kind of what I meant by like, let's see where you can go and just discuss.
This is so much fun.
And
like you're talking about, I'm like, yes, and then we could do that. I'm sorry if I went too far.
No.
Too fast. I got excited.
I'm thinking about more opportunities for this. So I see home, I see dissonance, and then I see back. So what are other ways? I'm gonna ask you, Mr.
What do
Sakash.
you mean?
What
do you mean
how-
by back?
How back to home?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we've got a 5 chord in terms of dissonance. Can we create a strong sense of dissonance without that 5 chord? What are some other ways to? Because of course, like the is nice and all, and I think that tension resolution is absolutely necessary. And as it's a simple tune, like it's what it is, in any music really, but. So how can we change that tension?
Yeah, no, that's a really great thought. You have lots of good thoughts.
I'm
Isaac.
having a hard time articulating
I
it.
think I understand what you're saying though, and that is the 5 chord serves a function, right?
Yeah.
It gives us a place of departure, and then we feel that need to return home again.
Yeah.
So what other ways can we do that?
Yeah, we've got all these ways of like all these different not home but like these traveling chords, but what is this tension like? Oh, we gotta go back. What are other ways to?
Yeah, probably the first easy way is up a half step, which is the tritone sub. So
I learned about these recently. Go on.
So no. So in this tune, it's in G minor. The 5 chord is D, right? And the tritone sub of D is A flat 7. So that's an easy way to give some tension.
Okay, so when I back like a month ago or so, I didn't know what a tritone sub is, and if you just said that would have meant nothing to me. But
now you know.
The way I learned it is that you go up so if the root of the chord is C, you would go up a tritone to G flat,
right,
and then play that dominant chord.
Exactly.
And it has the same two notes as C because they're tritone away.
The guide tones, the 3rd and the 7th, the pitches are the same although reversed, right? Yeah, and just for who's ever listening, for the millions of people that will listen, I want to. So the 3rd of a C7 chord is an E, and the 7th is a B flat. Those are the most important notes of the chord. Here's C7. Here's the 3rd, and here's the 7th. The 3rd tells us that it's major. The 7th tells us it's a dominant 7th chord, right? They're the most important notes. Probably even more important than the root, okay?
Which is why you can use the tritone sub instead.
Right, totally. So if you think about F sharp 7, which is a tritone away, the 3rd of that chord is an A sharp That's enharmonically the same as a B flat. So the third of an F sharp 7 chord is the same note as the seventh of the C7 chord.
Yeah.
The E is the seventh of the F sharp 7 chord and the third of the C7 chord. So those two notes are shared by the C7 chord and the F sharp 7 chord. So you can substitute when you have a 5 chord, not just any dominant chord, but a 5 chord, you can substitute the dominant chord a tritone away. So I think the first and easiest place of departure is to just do a tritone sub instead of a 5 chord. Isaac, since you're in front of the piano, do you want to show what that would sound like if like we played Wade in the Water and then you go to A flat 7 instead of
Wade in the water.
right. So you get that little half step
Yeah.
motion, which is kind of cool.
It's a nice sound. It's
Half step in the bass.
The bass is up a half step, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so immediately after that, I'm thinking we tried 2-5 regular, just 2-5 back to G minor. Kind of wasn't fitting it. We didn't try a tritone.
No, we did not.
2-5.
We should try that.
We should try that.
Yeah, go for it. Let's hear what it sounds like.
Okay, wait.
Yeah.
I have to. So the 2A. So what would that be? Wait.
So what if we made you want it? So you want to do a 2-5 to A flat? Is that what you want to do?
I was thinking 2 and then A flat is the 5.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yep.
So, like the tritone sub of the 2.
Yep.
To get to. So if I were doing that, I'm not super experienced in this. Would I want to go with, since the 2 chord is half diminished 7 or a minor 7? Should I choose that for the tritone sub of it if I'm using it in that way? Or
So what you're doing is you're doing the 5 of the tritone sub.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it doesn't really fit our melody. That's the only trouble. Well, yeah, because you have a D natural in the melody, right? Oh, okay.
Maybe
So you're
maybe then
making
it has
it
to be a major
It
7.
has to be a major 7. Yeah.
This pedal. Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's you get the bass motion of the fourth, you know, the ascending fourth, which is cool. That's kind of a 5-1-y kind of thing, but you do have to use the major 7 chord because of the D natural in the melody.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I didn't mind the sound of the major 7 chord, and I would use that. I think that would be acceptable if we just did the regular 5 chord, like wade in the water.
Yeah, that's a good sound. Yeah.
But in the context of trying to do that tritone sub thing, I think that, yeah, definitely on its own the tritone sub is better. But what I think it seemed like you thought I meant something different when I said tritone 2-5. How would you?
I thought you were gonna go. I thought so. The tritone. So we can kind of let our listening audience know what we're talking about. No. So we've got a D7 chord, right? And we're substituting an A flat 7 chord right now. We're just trying it out. I thought what you were gonna say is 2-5 to A flat. So do like B flat half diminished, E flat 7, maybe with a sharp 9 to get the G flat F sharp, and then go to A flat. But
Okay.
it's
kinda cool.
It's problematic because in the melody is a D natural, so that rules out like a minor 7 or a minor 7 flat 5.
Well,
for our 2 chord.
Yeah, I think if we do the 2-5, the measure before, so in the water,
Yeah.
so we have wade in the water, wade.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Here's the important thing though is like you have these options, and the things that we're thinking through are things you can try. Some of them are going to work. Some of them aren't.
Some
of them
just
won't
aren't working.
Your original point though was how do you create dissonance, right? If you're not going to use a 5 chord, and a couple of other things you can do. So I might go down a half step, down to the dominant chord a half step below, and see if that works. In this case, it doesn't fit with the melody note, right? And then other ways. Have you guys ever heard of a backdoor 2/5? This is.
Would that be the?
Say more.
Yeah.
So. Would that be different in minor?
I've seen the 2 chord as half diminished and minor. I think it depends on the melody.
Yeah.
So a backdoor 2/5, and this is all stuff that comes out of jazz tunes. We see this all over the time. So you see 2/5/1s that function as a normal 2/5/1. Sometimes you see a 2/5/1 that the 5 chord ends up a step below your goal, right? Tunes like Stella by Starlight, I think it could happen to you. They have these backdoor 2/5s. So if you're going to G minor, then you might have, your chords might be C minor, F7, G minor, which is I think what you just played. Is that what you played?
C minor 7.
C minor 7,
F7.
F7, G minor. That's
Wait,
yeah.
So which one is 2 and which one is 5?
So I think of it like it's a 2/5 to the flat 3, but you get tricked out and you go to the 1 instead. And in here we're in minor, we already have that flat 3, so I just do a 2/5 to the 3, which is B flat, and that'd be C minor 7 is the 2 of B flat, and then F is the 5, and then but we end up at 1 at G instead.
Oh, okay.
Which that's a sound I'm very fond of.
Me too. I love that sound.
So that would go what? Ooh.
You'd have to make that F7 a flat 9 chord.
Yeah.
Which
okay,
is kind of weird, but. Yeah. Right. And that could work. It's a lot riper harmony than we kind of were in the first, but it could work. I think the thing to like take to the bank is the idea of that backdoor 2/5. Yeah. It's a really great way to enter a chord when you're just looking to get out of 2/5 in the typical way, you know.
That kind of reminds me. This in this particular key, or actually in every key, the backdoor 2/5 starts on the 4. And we were talking about starting on the 4, so we could instead of doing the tension thing, we could do. Wade in the water, wade da 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 dum, or something like that.
Yeah.
Wait.
That's cool.
Okay, can you do that again? And then can you say when we get to the backdoor 2/5?
It's like I'm calling a baseball game. Okay, we're on the 4 chord in the beginning, and now we're at the backdoor 2/5. We're getting ready to move to G minor, and there we go. That was our backdoor 2/5 ending up on G minor. Now we're on the regular 5 chord. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that was
There it is.
amazing.
That's what I want my new career to be, a harmonic sportscaster. We're on the 1 chord. Okay, 2/5 to 3. Here we go. 2/5 to. Oh, we went to the 6 instead.
Yeah. So good. That's nice. Another thing, just before I forget it, I caught in there. We were looking at that kind of 2/5 to the tritone sub, which would be the B flat minor 7, the E flat dominant to A flat as the tritone sub. Instead of 2/5 to A flat, I think we can still use a section of that progression to think of that E flat 7 as the tritone sub of instead the 5 of D. So if we have, or maybe I want to start that earlier. Wade in the water, wade.
Oh, I like that.
So So that's a nice sound. So that's
So go ahead and play that again, and just
you'll do
kind
your
of.
calling.
So no, you go ahead and do the how you thought of it, the way you thought of that.
So how I thought of it. Well, we were looking at this progression, trying to get to this tritone sub to
Right.
get back to a 1. And so if we take the 2/5 of the tritone sub A flat,
And then go to the real 5 chord instead.
yeah,
Yes.
instead of the yeah, exactly. And I guess if we separate my justification from that, the justification I guess would be is we're taking the 2 of the 5 chord. So we're doing a 2/5 to the 5, except we're taking the tritone sub of both the 2 and the 5 of the 5.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like I probably shouldn't have just even tried to explain that. That's one.
Yeah, and there's so many ways to think of that. You've just stumbled upon another thing that happens a lot, right? And there's different perspectives to look at it from, depending on how your brain works. So you played. I'll just kind of review the chords. You played B flat minor 7, E flat 7 to D7, right? So one way to look at that is that you're, just like earlier or later in the tune, we've got E flat 7 to D7, right? Flat 6 to 5, which is a common thing. You're just doing the precursor to the 5 by playing the 2.
I'm really just doing that same thing with just like a little bit extra
You're just adding a 2
preparation.
chord.
Yeah.
And that's something to remember. So if you're moving to a new key area, you can use the 2/5, right? You can use the backdoor 2/5, or you can go up and do a 2/5, a half step up the key that you're going to, and then the 5 chord slides down a half step. Does that make sense? Did I explain that in a way that's understandable?
I didn't really get the last one.
Okay, so let's say we're going to the key of C. Okay, so here are some ways I can get there. I can do the 2/5 of C, D minor, G7, C, right? I could do the backdoor 2/5, right? So I want to end up on a 5 chord a step below C, which is B flat 7, right? So I'm going to go F minor, B flat 7, C, and now I'm on C, right? I could use the tritone sub to get to C, right? Instead of using G7, I could use D flat 7 or C sharp 7, right? Or I could in addition to the tritone sub, I could also use the 2 that belongs to that tritone sub chord.
2 tritone sub,
Yep,
and then
down a half step to where I'm going, right?
wait, I don't get the down the half step part.
Okay, so like C, here's C, right?
Yeah.
So the 5 of C is G7. Okay. The tritone sub of G7 is C sharp 7. Okay. Right. So I could go C sharp 7 to C.
Oh,
I've used a tritone sub now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now what if that C sharp 7 were part of a 2/5?
And the 5 of the 2.
And the 5 of the 2/5
Okay.
is C sharp.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So if I go A flat minor, C sharp 7, and then C major 7. That's another way to get to C, And when I'm going to do a reharm, or if I'm writing a tune, those are different ways that you might choose to go to a key. Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really cool color. It's about things that we were talking about like 15 minutes ago. My
Yeah,
brain
me
is
too.
just working a little bit slower. But in terms of pedal chords, so I was talking about like a 4-pedal chord, and the idea behind that is it's predominant. It's in like this traveling state. The 5 chord isn't home, but it's pretty decided. The 4 chord isn't. But I was like kind of thinking about all this. What's another predominant chord we could use? I would say in like a minor key like this. Well, how have we been getting to the 5 chord? We've been getting there a lot from the flat 6, that E flat 7. So how do you think an E flat pedal would sound over this tune?
Let's find out. I don't know until we try it.
maybe a pedal chord.
Yeah.
That's I think that's nice.
Yeah.
Another kind of way of getting that sort of traveling feeling, and I think it works a lot better in a minor key.
I think a great thing to do is like all these things that we're talking about, it's not like we've invented them, and as you learn tunes, if you study jazz tunes, if you learn them in a way that allows you to understand the harmony, the function of the harmony, right? In other words, if I'm on a little jazz soapbox for a moment, if you're learning your tunes by ear and like trying to learn the harmony by ear, and that approach, then you're probably understanding the harmony on a deeper level, and you're more prepared to steal like the common ways that composers have dealt with harmony in jazz, like where do tunes go on bridges typically, and what are different ways we can come back home again, 3-6-2-5-1 or tritone subs or backdoor 2-5, that kind of thing,
Yeah, I that made me think I think I'm early enough in my jazz, like I remember where I learned what a backdoor 2-5 was, and I was learning the chords for Misty. How's it go?
Yeah, then 2-5 to 4, and then it becomes minor.
And
Here we go.
There we go.
There it is.
So that was in Misty. It's we got the 1, and then we do a 2-5 to 4. Yeah.
Then it becomes 4 minor.
4 minor.
And that's the 2 of the backdoor 2-5.
Yep. And this is the 2-5-1.
Yep. The backdoor 2-5, and there's 1.
Oh.
Yeah. Right. And then 1-6-2-5-1.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, like what that epiphany that you made at that point in time is, so if you understand Misty in that context, then you now can play Misty in any key, because if you know your keys, you're like, okay, I'm on 1, I'm gonna 2-5 to 4, and then it becomes minor, right? Minor, and then it's the 2-5 of the backdoor 2-5, and then I go to 1, and then I go to 6, 2, 5, and then probably 3, probably 3 chord, 6, 2, 5. That's understanding a tune, It's like if you remember E flat major 7, it's hard for me to think of the chords. It's easier to think of the function.
Yeah, that's the same.
B flat minor, E flat 7, A flat major, A flat minor. It's so much better to think 1, 2-5 to 4, that kind of thing.
That's how all the tunes that I do. I don't do a lot of transposition in my practice with any of the instruments that I play on. Unfortunately, I should. Mm-hmm. But I do try to think of, like, if I'm thinking of a tune, it's like, what is the chord in terms of its function, not its name.
Yeah.
Okay, so earlier when I asked, like, what are the chords function, and you said they don't, so how would you deal with that? Like, you said you don't think of it in how they function.
Well, sometimes when you're reharmonizing, you step out of that. In a jazz tune, most jazz tunes do have function within a key for a certain amount of time, right? So, like, if we do AABA tunes like Misty, the A sections function really clearly in the key, whatever key you're in, like E flat major is a common key, right? And it goes to 4, and you can think of it that way. But then the bridge is going to go to another key. And that's where it's hard to continue using the Roman numerals. Then you have to shift and say, okay, so now we're in the key of whatever, and now these are the Roman numerals that work in that key.
Okay.
So there is some relationship there, but then there's a whole lot of tunes that don't follow that pattern also. There's many that do, and a whole lot that don't. I think jazz musicians need to know that function to be able to know the tunes that function that way.
Mm-hmm.
There's, with like Misty, it changes keys on the bridge, I think, and then I would be like, I don't know the bridge too well, probably for that reason. But I would be like, okay, what is the interval that it's jumping? So in the earlier reharm that Mr. Sakash did, if I'm like trying to like memorize the tune, I would be like, okay, even though all of these don't really have like a 1, 6, whatever function, I can still remember like, okay, we're gonna go up a half step. We're gonna go, like, I can remember through the intervals, which maybe sometimes will be easier than like whatever long string of justification of like, oh, the 2 of the tritone sub of, and often there isn't even like that. It's just a color choice. But yeah, on that's, I mean, it is a good point, because like if you asked me to play like infinize in 3 keys, I would be like, it's when there are tunes, like you said, Mr. Sakash, that are like outside of it. Yeah, it's just I remember through the intervals, but it's a lot easier when the function is clear.
Yeah, like Wayne Shorter tunes too are so coloristic, like infinize. There's a little bit of function and there's a whole lot of coloristic, and some writers use root motion as a motive, right? So it might be a rising fourth or a major second or whatever. So it doesn't always fit harmony. If you look at a tune, like even a simple tune like rhythm changes, this is how I think of it similarly to you, right? So rhythm changes, the chord changes for I Got Rhythm. It's really standard. It's like 1 6 2 5 1 6 2 5. Go to the 4. Right. So that all fits in the system, right? The system of Roman numerals. When you get to the bridge, though, this is where it's like a mixture of systems. So the bridge, let's say if we're in the key of B flat, and the way I think of it is like if I go to the rhythm that changes the bridge of a rhythm section changes tune. I go up a major third, right? So from a B flat, I know whatever key I'm in, I go up a major third and play that dominant chord. Once I get there, you go around the cycle of fourths, 1, 2, 3 times, and then you end up on the 5 of the key you started in. So that is like the 5 of 5 of 5 of 5. And you said that one time you said that, is there a 5 of 5 of 5? And I said no, but really, in a rhythm changes bridge, there is, because you're headed towards F7, but you start on D7, right? D7 is the 5 of G7, the next chord. G7 is the 5 of C7. C7 is the 5 of F7, which is the last chord on the bridge, and that gets us back to B flat.
That's crazy.
Okay, long story short, you can adapt your knowledge of the number system when you're learning jazz tunes. It doesn't fit tonal harmony, but if you understand how 5 goes to 1 and the cycle of fourths, the system works in that way. That's really helpful. Yeah. I think what we've talked about could be the subject of like 2 or 3 books. It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff.
Going quick.
That was very good. It's pretty much about time to wrap up. But thank you for all of that. A lot of it went over my head, but I did learn stuff. I learned about a backdoor 2-5-1.
Yeah.
And we talked about tritone subs, which I already knew about.
Yeah.
And what was the thing we just did?
I think one big thing is like taking a melody note and doing every possible
the chromatic
root.
Yeah.
You learn a lot, and you have to alter your chords to fit that. You learn a lot about harmony when you do that.
That's very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
for having us on.
Yeah.
So great.
We're honored. I'm honored.
As always, the music is composed and arranged by Isaac Houghton. The musicians are Michael Sakash on alto and tenor sax, Brian Lucy on baritone saxophone, Quinn and me on trumpet, me on trombone, Ethan St. Pierre on drums, and Isaac on bass. Our cover art is painted by Sierra Rollman. Social media manager is Olivia Wentworth. Recording equipment thanks to the FA Arts Department. And thank you to Mr. Swayze for teaching me how to use the equipment. And of course, thanks to my amazing theory teachers who inspired me to pursue this project. I will be back next week for more Thursday morning fun.